In this session, we are going to use Python programming language inside VS Code and use GitHub Copilot as our AI assistance tool. We will be importing some files and exporting some files. In between, we are going to process them and organize them into well-structured tables and use Microsoft Excel as our spreadsheet tool because it's the most widely used tool. The agenda for today is to cover two very general cases. One where the data exists on an Excel file and we make an import using Python. And there are three different cases about how the tables are structured in those files. In the second scenario, we will generate some processed data using the imported data, and there will be some new tables, and using that we'll be exporting those tables into the same kind of different formats how tables are organized. So we begin by creating a project folder. I've named it Python Excel Interaction. It's currently empty, and I'll add an Excel file and rename it as data1. Opening it, and I'm gonna make a tiny table with some random data in it. And that was our first case, that is one table and one sheet. To make the second case, I'm creating another file, calling it data2. The first table on sheet 1 would be the same. I copy that on sheet 2 but change the third column values. In the third case, I've made another copy, but instead of putting the second table on the sheet 2, I'll put it just below the table on sheet 1. Okay, so now it's time to open the project folder in VS Code, and you can see our three data files on the side panel. Now, to use Python, we are going to use the notebook file with .ipynb extension, and make sure that we select an appropriate kernel. Let's say we have different versions of Python installed and we want to use any particular one, so the options will come and you can choose that. Now we are all set to start coding, but first make sure that you have configured the appropriate model in the AI Assistance toolkit. Press the generate option and tell the model what you want to do. It will write the code for you. You can edit it if you want, but I'll just accept it, make it run, and run the code cell. And there you go. You have imported the table from Excel file, making use of Python and displaying it here in this interactive notebook file. So next you want to do something similar for the second file, but accordingly your instructions to the model will be slightly different. So because you already know, you have seen how the tables are there on your Excel file, so accordingly you will write that you want to display each table from the sheets. And when you run this cell, it's showing the two tables. Next, you want to do something similar for the third file and adapt your instructions to the model accordingly. And there you go, you have your two tables from the same sheet. Okay, now we are going to create a process. So let's give it a heading, and let's give the previous section a heading as well for import. So you have seen the import of data from the Excel files. and now we are going to create a process so that it happens a bit automatically. What I want to define is how the tables are stored. So it's about table storage, and the way I want it, it's my preference, is that the first thing that I need to look is the file name, then it's the sheet name, and then it's the table name. So this way, in this structure, I need all my tables stored. And the second process is to define how data is queried. You can define it in many different ways, but for now my preference is to just use the table fields, the name of the column, the headers, right, and the associated data types. So now let's write the instructions for the AI model, and it's basically a reflection of what I've written above in my notes, that define a function to process the raw files of any type as I've described above, and the tables should be saved in a nested dictionary object with keys denoting the file name, sheet name, and table name. And it's my preference based out of experience. If you don't add these lines and just ask it to save the tables in an appropriate way, maybe it will do it this way, or maybe it will just create a list of the tables. It will choose its own way, but because I've defined it how I need it, so this will be used, and hopefully this will give me an output that's accordingly as per my instructions. So I'll just accept the output and check the result. And as you can see, the variable all tables, the advantage of storing the tables in the dictionary format is right here, that when you are using a notebook file for interactively working with data using Python, you get options like these. So it is showing the file name options because you have stored it in a dictionary. It's the keys of the dictionary, in fact the first highest level of the keys. Let's say I select data 3, and then you write the second square bracket, and inside you can get the options for what's available inside as a key. So right now it's just sheet 1, so that's available, and this was the second level of the keys. And when you again make a square bracket, and you can see that it's showing two options because we have two tables in that file on sheet 1. So this is the third level of the keys, and this way we can store those tables and make use of it for any further analysis. Now let's write the instructions for our second process. So what we have done so far is that we have imported the data from multiple sources of data, that is multiple Excel files, and stored those tables into one Python object, that is a Python dictionary, and we can retrieve data from there. But in order to retrieve the data very effectively and as we need it, we are going to define a second process like here. Just make sure that you clearly indicate what you want to do, what is your main goal. So what I have written is that I want to summarize all the tables stored in the dictionary and check if the table fields are consistent with each other or not, or what if their data types are different. So basically what I want to know is if the data coming out of multiple sources have any artifacts in them. If yes, I need a summary of what those things are so that I can devise a new strategy to fix those issues. And this is again out of experience, because usually when you get data from Excel files, it can have human errors inside, even if they are well structured when viewed by another human being. But when you are working with programming languages, tiny differences can make huge impact on the workflow. I had specifically asked the output to be of this kind, where I get one summary table and one single line text highlighting whether there are concerns or not. Now when I check this for my tiny set of tables which I just made, I find no concerns. Now we can work on the export section of our file, and let's say the summary table that we got above, that is the table that we want to export, and we also want to export the main text, this main summary text. So first, just taking a look at how the summary table looks like. Okay, this is the table. Now writing the instructions for the AI model, that I want to export the concerns on the first sheet of the Excel file and the summary table on the second sheet, and I need the names of the sheets as I write it down here in the instructions, and ensure that when the summary table is broken into multiple tables by the file name, they should be separated by 2 blank rows, and each table should have a title given by their respective file names. The code has been generated, and I just want to rename the name of the file that is exported, and when I run it, there you can see that it has already created the exported data Excel file. We can go ahead and check how it looks like. So you can see that it has rightly presented the data I wanted to be placed on the first sheet, and likewise for the second sheet, and it has given those labels that I asked. So this is good, but what's catching my eye right now is that right now the fields and the data types, because they are very less in number, so it's okay. We can map one to one, but ideally these should be in a separate table, because sometimes you can have tens of columns, tens of data fields. So in that case, this organization of the table is not going to be that nice. So now I want to write the instructions to do that, and I'm asking it to tabulate the table fields and their data types. And you can check the result, what it produces right here, and this is roughly what I wanted. Yeah, so now I just want to export this table onto a new sheet on the same file that we previously exported. So for that, the instructions are being written, and when I run this code cell, it has exported the table. So we can go ahead and check that, and there it is. So like this, we have covered all the important different cases that we presented in the beginning. I hope this is useful to you in one way or the other, because it covers one of the most basic scenarios that many small businesses who have been using spreadsheets encounter. And this concludes our session. Thank you.